Time for the weekend preview as SIU hits the road to take on the Evansville Purple Aces after what was a big-time series win against Illinois State here in Carbondale last weekend. Here to preview this trip to Evansville is head coach Lance Rhodes. Just a head coach day today that we have coming in to the Wells production studio. Coach, appreciate the time. And look, I know right now what's first and foremost for you was the frustration from the SEMO game in the midweek. But at the same time, your group had a very important weekend, taking 2-3 to Illinois State, which, not to say that, as you said, when you're going out there on the field, you're trying to win every game. It doesn't really matter whether it's league or not. But I know at least for your team, it had to be a really positive step forward to win a series against the team that you know can compete for this league in Illinois State.
Yeah, it was a big weekend. Right now we just got to start knocking off these conference weekends. There's, for us to make the leap, and we still have hopes to win the league. We know that we have to win 2 out of 3 against some of the better teams in our league, which I do think that Illinois State is a very good team. So really proud that we got that series. There's going to be some series that 2 out of 3 isn't going to be good enough. With us losing the series right off the bat, we are going to have to sweep 1 or 2 or even 3 series in order to give ourselves a chance to win first place in the league. So it was a good step. Biggest thing is like we need to keep it going. We can't have a letdown weekend this weekend at Evansville, and this will be a big test for our guys with how well they're playing.
In terms of the Illinois State series, when you look at winning those first 2 games, give credit to Illinois State for finding a way to win the third game, but even calling the game and watching it, it didn't seem like you guys lost the game because you were happy with winning the first 2. Do you agree with that? And also, did you get the response you wanted from your group of, hey, it's great, you won the first 2, but let's really have the mindset, as you said, anytime you can get in position to get a sweep, it's so hard to put yourself in that position, especially against one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah, I don't think it was a lack of desire or want to win. It was more of just the execution. And again, I don't think our guys on Tuesday, it didn't feel like we had a lack of desire to win that game either. It was just more of a frustrating thing where we haven't been able to put, 3 or 4 good days of actual play together. There is something to be said about like showing up and wanting to win. Like I think our guys are doing that right now. I don't think we're having to coach them in that aspect as much as we were earlier. But there's also we have to show up consistently. And one thing that I mentioned and mentioned to our guys, where I'm trying to strive and get to, if we can't put 4 good days together in a row, we're never going to have a chance to win the conference tournament. We can't have 2 good days and one day where we're just off. You just don't have the freedom to do that, and we're trying to prepare for a week in May where we've got to stay hot for 4 straight days to win that tournament. And we have yet to be able to put 3 days together. So we've got to get to 3, and then once we get to 3, we got to figure out how we get to 4, and then kind of put it together more, because it's going to be so important not to have a letdown in that conference tournament.
I don't want to make this come across as like a age thing or it's not like the way it used to be or anyway when I describe this, but how hard is it to relay to your team of the importance of what you're trying to build towards? When you're kind of stuck, and I don't want to say prisoner of the moment, but you're kind of, why is coach kind of on us today? Played well over the weekend, but it's how hard is it to really preach the bigger picture, but also understanding, focusing on the moment and making sure you execute in the moment of doing those things with your group to make sure that they do understand that, hey, we're trying to preach these things because ultimately you preach them now and they pay dividends down the road.
Yeah, for me, I typically don't beat around the bush a whole lot whenever I talk to our guys. Now, I do it in a way that I think is truthful and meaningful. I try not to be caught up in the emotions of losing and say a lot of sarcastic things and things like that maybe sometimes coaches just lose their calm under a loss. So I try to just be truthful with them as far as the need to play well on a consistent basis. We're 12-19 because we haven't been able to do that. And the more that we can get consistent, the closer that we can edge to 500. And we're fighting to get to 500. We're going to fight to get over 500. I still think by the time that our season ends and we go into the tournament, that we're going to be there. And we're going to get over that hump. But again, like we talk about it, like we are talking about it right now. We'll talk about it to the end of the season because we can't hide from it. We know that there's a 4-day stretch in the tournament that we have to play good for 4 days. You look at every conference tournament winner over the last 7 years that I've been here, that team that has won the tournament has played well every single day in the tournament. Like they haven't had just a bad day, got in the loser's bracket, came back. It just doesn't happen. So that's going to be on the forefront of our minds and our thoughts and our coaching to get these guys to understand, okay, we're trying to do this for a reason because we have to understand 4 days is a long time. I know it doesn't seem like it, but to play consistent for 4 straight days, it's a tough task. And if we want to be champions and go to a regional, we have to be able to do that.
It was one of the conversations I know that you were talking about with us after the SEMO game, and it was more of, hey, in-game adjustments. And not just necessarily in-game adjustments, but in a specific at-bat from an offensive perspective. Those are areas that you preach on a daily basis with your group, from whether it's the detailed scout report, knowing what's coming, of just that frustration right now that you're having and working with the guys on a daily basis of really preaching, hey, your approach of when you're starting an at-bat versus when you get to 2 strikes, how those approaches need to change during the course of a game.
Yeah, I mean, there's uniqueness to approaches and plans. The one thing that we just cannot do is when we know what a pitcher is going to do to get us out. And it's different. If you're facing an Andrew Evans and you've got a game plan and you know how he's going to attack you, but his stuff is so good that it's still extremely hard, like you can live with him getting you out. But when you look at opponents that we know what they're going to do to us, we know how they're going to attack us, we've seen it on video, and other opponents have hit really well against them, we can't be the outlier and let them have their best day of the season against us. And we've done that several times this year where the pitcher's had his best outing against us. And whether it's somebody that has a really good changeup or a really good breaker, like if they continue to go to it over and over and over multiple times in the bat, like we can't swing and miss through that pitch 2 or 3 times in a bat. Like we have to be able to make the adjustment, especially when there's guys sitting on third base or sitting at second base with less than 2 outs. Like we have to be able to knock those guys in. And once we make those adjustments, we will be a much better offense. We'll be a much more consistent offense. And our wins and our production will all go up as a result of that.
One of the areas that we've talked about throughout the course of the season that wasn't a theme early for you guys was the walks, the hit by pitches. Staff has done a really good job over the last couple of weeks of really focusing in those areas and making teams earn it. While also for the good chunk of this season, defensively you guys have been a good group, a solid group. And that's saying solid with key guys missing and shifting around and not having a lot of cohesion. The last week or so, the errors have gone up. What's been the frustration there? What you have seen that you're trying to communicate to your guys and know you get it. Guys are getting tweaked around and shifted, but knowing this is a group that's much better defensively than what they've showed over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think a lot of it just is it's kind of like the offensive side of it, where right now you almost feel like we have guys that want to hit with nobody on base. They don't want to be the guy that has to come up with a guy at third. Like they want to be the guy that just gets on base and be at third. And we've had some plays defensively where it's like you can kind of almost see it when you're in the dugout or you at the booth. Like you've seen it where you're like, I don't know if this guy wants the ball hit to him right now in this moment. And anytime you play sports, like if you have some of those thoughts, man, if you don't want to knock down the jumper or you don't want the ball in your hands, like it ain't going to go good. And, we've got to get back to, again, like just putting in the work, trusting that, hey, if I'm prepared in practice, then hit me the ball. I'm going to defend it, and I'm going to, field it and make the throw. And, we just got to continue to clean up some of those things. Tim's going to probably get back to playing shortstop a little bit more too. Petro had the knee injection, so he's going to be back out on the field. Hopefully he's feeling a little bit better and kind of get guys back in more natural roles, which hopefully kind of settles the defense down a little bit.
I think at times, even for me, I think everybody, when your standards are always high, you kind of can get caught up in the moment as well. And a guy that I think we need to talk about the job he's trying to do for you, Xavier Farnham, kind of being thrust into this role. There's been no doubt some injuries within your catching room that's been pretty prevalent, even going back to the fall so much, where I think Jake Ryan had to step in and catcher. Unfortunately, I don't think Jay Rice got any eligibility left, but at times you can just get that, a frustrating play there, but X is doing all he can to help your team get in a position to win games.
Yeah, right now you look at our catching situation with the injuries that we have. We've got, X was the only catcher we had to warm up people in the bullpen on Tuesday night. So he's down there, he's catching the bullpen, he's warming up the pitchers. All of a sudden, we pinch hit, and X has got to go from warming up the guys to straight into the game to where it means something. And then, you got our other catcher who was just taken out, who has to go from there to down into the bullpen. So, again, these are things that typically you don't have issues. Are they big issues? No, they're not gigantic, but they are things that you typically don't deal with on a game-to-game basis. So it's just one of those things that we have to adapt and adjust. We have to get used to. Our catchers have to be flexible. They got to be ready at any moment. And it's just like any of our position players. Kyle Mayer coming off the bench. I try to give him as much heads up as possible that it might happen. But again, that happens within a matter of a couple minutes. That's not a whole lot of time to get yourself ready, get yourself prepared, and to go be successful. So again, we've got to be able to adjust on the fly and just do the best job that we possibly can whenever we're given a game opportunity.
Before we focus on Evansville, I know we talked about it after the moment against SEMO, but man, what a job by Kyle Mayer. To step into that moment, pinch hit, bases loaded, 2 outs. You kind of said, hey, if you don't want to be in that moment, it's probably not going to go well. I think it's pretty clear. Kyle was ready for the moment and just feel that the game couldn't ultimately end in the way to where you guys won it. But still, I think it's important to not remember what a big-time moment that was for him. And now hopefully that can carry over to even bigger moments here as you get ready for this weekend. And a lot of baseball left of this season.
Yeah, one, he's been swinging the bat really good in practice, so he deserved the opportunity. And two, it's going to lead into opportunity this weekend. With some of the guys still out, there's at-bats to be had. There's matchups that are more conducive to right-handed batters this weekend. So, for him to feel good about that bat, hopefully he feels good going into the weekend, because there's definitely going to be opportunity for him to get bats. And one thing that we're really missing is the extra base hit, the doubles and the home runs. And we know that he can provide that. One swing of the bat, he can hit the ball over the fence and put 2 or 3, 4 runs on the board at one swing. So hopefully, he'll get opportunities, be ready, and kind of give us a spark that we haven't had.
I think another guy that deserves a lot of credit, and man, seeing him just, not to say that he ever didn't have confidence, because that's not correct at all. But man, Troy Shepard is just really, you can see with each start, each time he comes back out there, there's just that swagger, that aura, whatever you want to say about him. He's really carrying himself at a really high level. It helps when you're producing, but how has he just continued to just get his trajectory going in the right way?
He's just done a phenomenal job as far as understanding how his pitches work. And a lot of credit to, Mac and Connor Daly with working with Troy and really using the analytical side to understand, okay, what are your pitches doing? Okay, they do this, so how do we go and attack a right-handed batter? How do we go attack a left-handed batter with the way that your pitches are profiling? And he's really just kind of taken off as far as making some tweaks, making the fastball play a little bit better, up in the zone, It's carrying really good through the zone, so you're getting a lot of missed hits up in the air, a lot of swing and miss. And yeah, I mean, a lot of credit for him because he's just gotten better from the day that he's been here in August until now. He's still continued to climb and get better. And, you know, he's settled in nicely in that Saturday role where we honestly feel like if Evans wins on Friday, that we've got a chance to win the series on Saturday with how well he's throwing.
There are, I'm trying to think of all throughout the years of really some great closers in the Valley that you had to go up against. Obviously, you had one in Steidel. Like, it's very rare you see a full year that is completely dominant. And what I'm saying is there's always going to be a stretch. It may just be a weekend. It may just be a week and a half where there's some struggles that you're going through. Clearly, Jack McIntosh has been in that kind of spot here the last couple of weeks. But also, it's not all on him of what you continue to say to a guy you've described as being calm, cool, collected, like ready for those moments, has shown clearly he's ready for those moments to kind of make him also be like, hey, you're still that guy, man. Like, you're going to be the guy that we're going to go to when we know we need to get outs and win this game.
Yeah, and we still will. And, his line on Tuesday where he gave up the run, it kind of stings a little bit because they should not have scored.
Yes.
We know that we have to make that routine play there the second out of the inning. And then when the guy hits that double, it doesn't produce a run on the board. And again, like those are kind of the losing things that we're doing right now that are causing us to not win baseball games. So, Jack would probably be feeling pretty good about his outing if we make that play and then he gives up a double, but we get out of the inning and we go and we score a run and we win the game. His mentality going into Evansville would be completely different than how he's feeling right now. So, still all the trust in the world with him. He's got great stuff. He's got strikeout stuff. You got to have strikeout stuff when you're in the back end of the game. So if we get there on Friday and Saturday, he's going to have the ball in his hands, and I know he'll get it done.
Let's look towards Evansville. You look at West Carroll's team, man. They really no doubt went out and challenged themselves with the schedule. I think 66 non-conference strength of set schedule coming into the week. And their record showed it. I know they've had some injuries and kind of battling through that, just like you guys have. But they've won 6 of their last 8, including winning 2 of 3 against Illinois State and then going on the road, take 2 of 3 from Bradley. I don't think there's any question. This is the best version that Evansville has looked all year coming into this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't get caught up in the overall record. It's like, what are they doing lately? And lately they're winning. And, like you said, 6 out of 8, they're 2 out of 3 against Bradley. You go, okay, what are they? And then when they win 2 out of 3 against Illinois State, you say, okay, well, they got to be pretty good. The record it's because of the schedule that they had. It's a tough as a mid-major to schedule that schedule and expect to have a great overall win-loss record. But for them, they're at their home ballpark. It's they've been really well. Having an opportunity to win series at their park. It's tough to go there and win. So for us, it's just an opportunity that we've got to look at the big picture of things.
Yeah.
We've got an opportunity. We're going to go on the road for the next 2 weeks against teams that we feel like we can go in and have a chance to win a series and set up, a really good matchup a couple weeks from now against Murray, who we know is going to have a chance to be at the top of the league, and have a really meaningful weekend in a couple weeks. Now, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I try to talk to our guys about this too. Like, we have to understand, what's ahead of us. And you have to know those things because it gives you something to play for. Like, you don't want to just show up and not even know who we're playing the next weekend. You don't want to get too far ahead of yourself and then lose games because of that. But it's also, you have to understand where the games are at, what games you need to be able to take advantage of, what games you need to be able to win to set your season up for success. So this is a big weekend for us. We need to be able to go on the road. We haven't been very good on the road. We need to be able to go on the road and play really good baseball and get to feeling better about ourselves and just continue to. They're ahead of us in the standings. We anybody that's ahead of us in the standings, we got to overtake them and keep climbing up that ladder.
Coach, appreciate the time. Looking forward to making the trip with you guys, and it all starts on Friday.
Sounds good.
Once again, that was head coach Lance Rhodes previewing this weekend against the Evansville Purple Aces. And the games will be on TV as well on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on the Valley on ESPN. We'll carry those games on Saluki Radio, on the Varsity Network app, and streaming on Saluki Baseball, Facebook, and Twitter, and YouTube. For the head coach Lance Rhodes, I am Luke Martin saying so long, Saluki Nation. We'll talk to you next week. Go Dogs!